Hello, and thank you for watching this mid-year State of the County address. It is no secret that these are tough times we're living in. Headline after headline echoes fears that the economy, whose gears were just beginning to turn again, appears to have shifted into neutral. Private payrolls, which account for about 70% of the workforce, are 2.1 million higher than they were at their low in 2009, but are still 6.7 million below where they were in late 2007 when the recession began. Nationwide, 14 million people are unemployed, and here in Henry County, the unemployment rate currently sits at 10.8%, slightly higher than the state average. But if the private industry gains in the economy are sputtering in neutral, governments are still sliding in reverse. Because our budgets are always based on the previous year's tax assessments, governments tend to fall about a year behind the private industry in terms of recovery. As a prime example, Henry County suffered an unprecedented $1 billion drop in its property values in 2010, which left commissioners with a budget shortfall of $9.8 million for the fiscal year 2010-11 budget. This year, the digest fell yet another $381 million, which translated into another $4.9 million in tax revenue declines. That amounts to a 25% reduction over 3 years. Other metro counties have suffered similar hits to their digest, and a few adopted unprecedented millage rate increases. Yet even with these staggering declines, Henry County was able to close a $15 million budgetary gap and balance the budget without a millage rate increase, without affecting service delivery levels for county departments, and without drawing from fund balance. Considering that nearly 70% of the county's budget is comprised of payroll, achieving the required cuts was a very difficult and painful process that we did not take lightly. Working from an initial budget of $127.3 million, we worked with the county manager, finance staff, and department heads and went line item by line item to make responsible, permanent cuts through decreases in individual departments' budgets across the board. 58 people lost their jobs, and we eliminated many other vacant positions and changed employee health benefits. We once again implemented 4 furlough days for county employees for a savings of $1.1 million. We reduced what the county contributes to outside agencies by 50%, and we found some new sources of revenue. By raising the hotel-motel tax to 8%, we expect to generate about $125,000 more in revenue from tourists who stay in our hotels. A new higher fee for police reports, $10 out of county, $5 in county, and a new $25 fee for out-of-county seniors to participate in activities at any of Henry County's 3 senior centers both bring in more revenue and put the financial burden on those who use the services, but not the taxpayers. 2 of our largest revenue streams that we have counted on for the past 2 years to help see us through the crisis won't be available next year. We once again took $2.2 million in excess funds from the county's healthy retirement account to help balance the budget. And we will use SPLOST funds earmarked for road paving to pay for road resurfacing for a second year, allowing $5.3 million to be removed from the general fund DOT budget. But both of these funding sources will be depleted after this year, creating a nearly $8 million gap going into the budget process for next year. Let's go back to the tax digest for a moment. Henry County's tax digest was hit with a $1.4 billion loss over 3 years. We were hit that hard because roughly 70% of our digest is comprised of residential properties. That means that just 1/3 of our digest comes from commercial businesses and industry. To adequately support essential government functions, that number should be much higher, which leads me to another interesting statistic. The median household income for Henry County residents is the 4th highest in the metro area, behind only Forsyth, Fayette, and Cherokee counties. But we have the 3rd highest percentage of jobs in the 20-county metro area coming from the 5 lowest paying sectors. And that causes a frustrating thing to happen on weekdays. About 69% of our residents leave our county every morning to drive to those high-paying jobs in Atlanta. while thousands of people in surrounding counties get in their cars to drive here for our lower-paying jobs. All that movement makes for the horrendous traffic jams that clog our roadways and diminish our quality of life. But more important than the traffic congestion this situation creates is the lack of quality local jobs that this problem reflects. It has been said that the pain of not doing something is greater than the pain of doing something. A recent news story on WSB included Henry County in a real estate ring of death. A professional analysis of the housing markets in the circle surrounding Atlanta suggested that the housing markets in these areas would never truly recover. If we just sat idly by and let the market play out, that projection may well come true. In that case, the pain of doing nothing will hurt us more in the long run. But we can't let that happen. We must take steps now, as difficult as they may be, to move this county forward. We must do more to bring those higher paying jobs to our community so that our citizens can work closer to home. We must do more to attract business and industry to our community that will support our tax base. We must stretch our thinking and take some risks so that we can evolve into the community we want to be. Henry David Thoreau once wrote, "If you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. That is where they should be. Now put the foundations under them." And that is exactly what we've been doing. About 3 years ago, county and city officials, together with various community leaders, developed a vision for the kind of community we wanted to be. That vision became the county's first economic development plan. In that plan were a number of key strategies and objectives that we all agreed we must accomplish if we are to achieve that vision. At the time, many may have thought that the plan was our castle in the air, too many lofty objectives. But we have been working diligently building the foundations, and I am proud to say that we have made steady progress moving all those initiatives along. In fact, Henry County has accomplished 2 major objectives this year alone. Earlier this year, thanks to the hard work and dedication of community and business leaders, together with state and local officials, we received funding for a technical school in our community. Southern Crescent Technical College is expected to break ground later this year and begin training our workforce for the jobs of the future in just a few short years. And a trained workforce will help us to compete more readily for industry requiring skilled labor. This summer, we announced the purchase and acquisition of Terra Field, which includes the airport, taxiways, and contiguous properties, plus a hangar and 218 acres of adjacent land that had been owned by the Clayton County Water Authority. Now, the timing of this initially raised some concerns. After all, we had slashed our budget to the bare bones and eliminated dozens of jobs, yet we found the money to buy an airport. But the county has been able to take advantage of an infusion of funding from the Federal Aviation Administration that amounts to approximately 85% of the total purchase amount of $17.7 million, minimizing the burden on local taxpayers in making this key investment to Henry County's economic future. Thanks to the funding from the FAA, Henry County government will pay just $2.7 million, and we will spread those payments out over 3 budget years. The balance of $15 million will be paid by FAA or FAA-authorized agencies, and we have already received the first $10 million from them. This airport is located entirely within Henry County's borders. With Henry County as owner, the facility can more readily make the FAA recommended safety improvements, which will also be funded almost entirely by GDOT and the FAA. These improvements will bring the facility up to the safety standards recommended for that size and type of aircraft that are currently flying into Terra Field, so that these aircraft can take off and land more safely even in poor weather. Planned improvements also include installing fencing around the entire perimeter of the airfield property, which will help to improve security in a post-9/11 environment. It has been said that a mile of roadway gets you a mile down the road. A mile of runway gets you anywhere in the world. Or more importantly, it can bring the world to you. A world of opportunity, that is. Henry County's airport already has an economic output of more than $25 million based on the sum of all direct airport and visitor impacts combined with the multiplier effects of payroll in connection to aviation businesses. Once the improvement projects I mentioned are complete, that impact is expected to increase dramatically. The expanded runway will help make Henry County's airport the preferred choice for aviation in the region. Following that will be increased ad valorem taxes for aircraft housed within the county, together with higher fuel sales and other aviation investments that will add to the local tax base. The acquisition of this airport will also help us to attract more corporations like Caterpillar, Snapper, Pep Boys, Summit Racing, Briggs & Stratton, and Crown Distributors who prefer flying private planes into this regional airport over commercial airlines for their business travel. And there is an enormous opportunity for growth within the aerospace industry. Georgia is currently ranked 8th in the U.S. aerospace industry employment. Since the average aerospace worker in Georgia earns more than $61,000 annually, 43% higher than the average for the state, it isn't surprising that aviation and aerospace projects are an important target industry segment. Other building blocks have been laid toward economic development this year as well. Over the past year, dozens of passionate citizens worked diligently on an E-squared economics and education plan to maximize our students' potential and improve our school standings in the state. Bike trails are getting underway at Kellytown Park, and we have been awarded nearly $900,000 in grants to construct a multi-use trail from Austin Road Middle School to Panola Mountain State Park, where it will tie into 20 miles of trails known as the Arabia Mountain Heritage Trails, which extend all the way to Stonecrest Mall. All of these contribute to the quality of life for which corporations are looking to offer their employees. So as you can see, we are not sitting still. Standing by and letting the community I love get labeled part of a ring of death is not in my blood, nor should it be in yours. I encourage you to join me in continuing to lay the foundation for the Henry County we envision becoming, one that is economically strong and competitively viable, with vibrant arts programs, excellent schools, and a variety of healthy activities for families to enjoy together. It will be hard work, but anything worth the effort usually is, and together we can make that dream a reality. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to learn what your local government has been doing over these last few months to shape a brighter future for all of us.